a woman named Mary Palan, who works for the New York Times, is writing an article about Monopoly and starts to delve into it and what are the origins of this game, and finally gets to the point where she realizes this is more than an article, it's going to be a book. And through that process, she discovers Lizzie McGee. She discovers where she was born, here in Macomb, Illinois. And she tells that story, and it's really kind of changed the history now of this game. Well, Elizabeth, or Lizzie McGee, is a woman that was born here in Macomb in May of 1866, right after the Civil War. Her father was a prominent newspaperman who owned the Macomb Daily Journal and was a friend of Abraham Lincoln and a supporter. And so that type of history, in fact, her father was a gentleman who actually talked to Abraham Lincoln when he was here to go get a photograph taken of him. And it's one of the first half dozen or so photographs ever taken of Abraham Lincoln. It was taken right here in Macomb. So that history there is important to, just alone, important to this town and what we do here. But beyond that, the woman that Elizabeth McGee became is really kind of an outstanding story. I mean, we're only now starting to cover, and the world's starting to understand that it was Lizzie who actually invented this game. But what beyond that people don't know is what a trailblazing feminist that she was. She was way, way far ahead of her time. I mean, this isn't a Victorian era when she's growing up. You know, that's when you were young and, 16 you might be getting married. She didn't get married until she was 40. She was an inventor. She was a feminist. She was just a trailblazer in so many different ways. And I think her father was one of the people that really encouraged that, which is also unusual for that time. This game was designed to really not be a game of Monopoly, but the game that countered Monopoly. It was an anti-monopolist game. It was designed to teach people what the evils of Monopoly can be. She designed it in two ways. You could play it as a monopolist and find out what that side's like, or play it anti so you can understand what's better for the people on a whole. So that game gets made. It becomes relatively popular for its time, but still kind of under the radar. What Lizzie did, and the reason why we know Lizzie today, is that she went and got a patent on this game. Now, not many people were doing that back then, and less than 1% of people, less than 1% of women had patents at that time. So women didn't have patents at all. So we wouldn't even be talking about this woman right now had she not patented this game. The Quakers out in Pennsylvania take a version of this game and make it into what we know today as Monopoly, where you have all this Atlantic City stuff around it. Clarence Darrow sees this. I think a friend of him had it, taught him how to play it. It's during the Depression. He's out of a job. He has no money at all. This is 15 or 20 years after Lizzie has invented and patented this game. So he says, hey man, this is a pretty fun game. I bet you I can, draw this up, make it look a little different, and start selling it myself. And he's able to do that. He actually gets some department stores to buy it, and it starts to take off. He goes to Parker Brothers and says, hey, I want to sell you this game. And they decide to buy it. But in the process, they buy it from him, but they do some due diligence and they go, well, we're going to check this out, make sure nobody has this game, and they find a patent for it. And now they have a little bit of a problem because they've already bought it from him and the game's already selling. So they track down Lizzie and they find her and they bring her in and they make a deal with her. And the deal is that they will create her original game, but it won't look anything like the Monopoly game, which is what her original game looks like, right? They're going to change the look of it. And they're going to allow her to, she has a couple other game inventions and they're going to produce those games. And what they will do is they will give her $500 for the rights to that. A woman there named Mary Palan, who works for the New York Times, is writing an article about Monopoly and starts to delve into it and what are the origins of this game, and finally gets to the point where she realizes this is more than an article, it's going to be a book. And through that process, she discovers Lizzie McGee. She discovers where she was born, here in Macomb, Illinois. And she tells that story, and it's really kind of changed the history now of this game. We now are here saying, how do we tell this story? How does Macomb tell the story? So we are going to be creating a world's largest Monopoly game around the downtown square, which we talked about looks very much like a Monopoly board, so it fits into that well. It'll start out as an app that you can use, and we are in the midst of designing that right now to see how that works. It will have trivia in it, it'll have stories, we'll learn a lot about Lizzie. The businesses will participate in this through coupons and that. And then as we develop that, we're going to see how that works and how then we can at some point get to a point where you see if there's this tangible, visible way to see this Monopoly game down on the square. In addition to that, to represent Monopoly in a visual way right now, we're taking the four corners of the downtown square where there have been art sculptures on each one of those corners, and we're going to replace those with Monopoly game piece-like pieces that also connect to Lizzie's story. And also, Lizzie's home is still here, where she was born in 1866. It's in disrepair. There's somebody that lives in it, but we hope to figure out a way to restore that home and make sure that it stays in place. So that'll be the next phase of what we do once we move on from here. This second phase is slotted to be unveiled in May of 2024. That's May 9th to be specific, because that happens to be Lizzie McGee's birthday.
With Halloween over, you may be wondering how you can properly dispose of your pumpkins. Well, the Macomb Park District is hosting the first ever Pumpkin Smash event to dispose of your pumpkins. Superintendent of Events at the Park District, Kara Sahagan, talks about why they decided to host one and the benefits of recycling pumpkins.
It is a big problem with putting pumpkins into landfills and causing methane gas into our atmosphere. And so we really want to help produce less of that and help the environment out in that way, but also really doing it in a fun way. It's a very unique offering to our community. It's never been done here. And so that really enticed us and helped us want to do that event even more.
The Park District will also have some fun ways to smash your pumpkins, such as a slingshot and baseball bats.
We're inviting everyone to bring any pumpkin that they have at home. If they have one pumpkin, great. If they have 5, even better. Just as many as they want to, and they can smash all of them. And we'll have different options for them on how to smash them, so they can test them out with multiple different pumpkins rather than just one.
The Pumpkin Smash will take place at Veterans Park on November 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Reporting for News 3, I'm Johnathon Jaszczurowski. It has been exactly 1,256 days since the Western Illinois men's soccer team defeated Oral Roberts to win the 2019 regular season title and number 1 in the Summit League tournament. There were 12 freshmen on that team, and just 4 years later, only 3 of them remain. Caleb Roglin, Jack Imisodi, and Kyle Owen are the only 3 remaining players from that 2019 roster. 4 years later, Caleb Roglin reflects back on the team's accomplishments.
We were kind of spoiled as a freshman coming in, and we all were able to experience some success right away. So that was, we were really fortunate, and that's one of the things that has kind of kept us around for so long, and that's why we still love it here.
Throughout their years at Western, many players have come and gone. Caleb, Jack, and Kyle talk about how those players have helped them become the leaders they are now.
It's just been it's been a journey kind of developing from being more of role players freshman year into more like bigger pieces on the team, especially off the field and that kind of stuff. and we think it'd be a really good thing to, if we started on a good note and then ended on a good note. So that's the goal for this fall.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good leaders in the past that we can kind of look up to. So I think it's been like a gradual, leadership improvement.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like Luke DeBall, Tim Troke, they've really passed the torch down. It's been just passed down from year to year to year, and now it's our turn to hold the torch. So,
With the three of them being graduate students and their last year as a Leatherneck, they want to go out the same way they started, win another title.
I want to do what we did freshman year and do even more.
Yeah, same here.
yeah, I want to go to the NCAA tournament and win a game in the NCAA tournament for the first time in Western soccer history.
Reporting for Leatherneck Insider, I'm Johnathon Jaszczurowski.